You're gonna want to hear this. The following is guaranteed to knock your ears right off. Not intended for the faint of heart.
You clicked off. You clicked off. Hello. This is the Lounge Around Podcast with your hosts Liam Saranich and my co-host Matt.
Hello.
Matt's sitting right next to me. This is the closest I've ever been to Matt. And I gotta say,
You feel a little uncomfortable?
yes. Trust me, I don't think I've ever been this close to you. Okay, don't make those eyes.
I'm like looking at you.
Like, I feel like we're gonna fall in love tonight. And I don't
It'll
like
happen.
we have a few special guests tonight. We have Professor Booker.
How you doing?
We have Lisa.
Hey, everybody.
And we have Joe.
Hey.
Right? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, just confirming.
Okay, just making sure, making sure it's all good.
Yeah.
All right, so before we start, though, I want to go into kind of like what everyone's profession is and kind of what, if you have a lot of degrees. I know Mr. Booker, or Professor Booker, has about a dozen.
Let's start with him.
Yeah, we'll start with him.
The elephant in the room.
We'll start with Professor Booker. All right.
Well, Liam and Matt, I want to say it's awesome. You know, it's a pleasure to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I love your energy. I love your show.
Yeah.
So, my name is Professor Booker. I'm a graduate of Eastern.
Yep.
I have 3 degrees from this school. I have a degree in business, a degree in history and social science, a degree in political science, and a master's in international studies from Central Connecticut State University. And I'm currently working on my doctoral degree at Johnson & Wales University.
Hear that, Matt? More than you'll ever get in your
I know.
lifetime.
Oh my God!
There's like,
No.
there's like so many degrees there. Like,
We're like confused.
like it's supposed to be jack of all trades, not master of all.
This is awesome.
Oh my God.
I love it.
All right, and then we'll go to Lisa.
Hey, I have a teaching background, but right now I'm working for a nonprofit, and I love it. It's like a dream job.
You can pull it down so
Yeah.
it's comfortable.
All
You
right.
can move it anywhere you want.
How's that?
They're perfect.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. I can hear you.
Yeah, so
So, yeah, continue. Sorry.
that's it. I have a teaching background.
Mhm.
I actually used to teach at Mitchell College a little bit.
What'd you
And,
teach?
English, writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. And now I work for a nonprofit, and I love it. It's like transparent. It's my dream job.
See,
I'm out in the community. I'm doing good things for the community.
perfect. See,
Yeah, feels great.
simple's better. Right? Less is
Yeah.
more.
Oh, am I supposed to say all my degrees?
No, if you want to, yeah.
I do have an undergrad in English and a master's in teaching.
Oh, perfect.
That's it.
Me and Matt are just going for communications and philosophy. That's it.
That's great.
And that's all we're going for.
We've just been outshined.
Oh my God, they are the best.
All right, then we'll go to Joe.
Well, I'm not as established as Mr. Booker.
Oh, we're not either, so don't worry.
Right.
I'm in y'all vote.
Oh, perfect. 3 against 2 tonight.
I know.
And I thought it was going to be me and you against them.
I do have an undergrad from your sister school, CCSU,
Mm-hmm.
and criminal justice. Well, they call it criminology.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a master's from UConn in social work.
Nice.
Perfect.
Wow. And I'm like a student at Eastern.
Well, yeah, you're still a student.
That's right.
It's okay. I miss those student days still.
Oh man, I can't wait to get out of them. Then I'm gonna miss them.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna be on a podcast, wondering what it all went.
Where did it all go?
Where did it all go? So
You guys look really cute together over there.
I know, like, I dyed my hair blonde because I wanted to get closer to
It
Matt.
looks good too.
I know. Yeah. So
Yeah, you started to copy me a lot, huh?
yeah.
You're coming in my mic.
Now I
doing
gotta.
that.
Your mic. You're on my end of the table.
It's all right.
Oh my
You're,
gosh.
you're finally learning how this thing works. And off the bat, you clicked off, not on.
Okay.
It literally says off, and you
I
click.
can't read that far. You ever think about that?
Ian, he's still a student.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
I know,
true.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a still student.
Yeah, so?
That's sad.
No.
And so is Mr. Booker. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah, Mr.
Yeah,
Booker's
I'm
still a
still a
student. There we go.
It's never too old to go back.
That's right. Wow, throwing a little jazz at you right now.
So tonight, Matt, what are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about some questions about consciousness, some theories about consciousness, how it works maybe, and some
Relationship stuff.
some relationship stuff.
Yeah, we're
We'll
going to
get
talk
into
about
some nitty-gritty.
our relationships. Not our relationship, but our own.
Let's keep ours on the secret.
All right, on the DL.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's just get started off the bat. So I'm going to ask the three of you a question off the bat. Simple question. Is consciousness a product of the brain, or is it independent of the physical body? Or is it independent of the physical body? So is consciousness basically something that works within your brain, or is it kind of like separate from your body, like a shadow kind of thing, you know? So Matt, if you want to
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's a part of the brain and not a metaphysical aspect of it. As I'm kind of on the side where like all the neurons in your brain will connect, and you'll be able, and that's like your brain state, right? I was looking at there's a relationship between mind and your brain, and people usually like conflate the two, but the brain is like the physical aspect of it, and like the mind is like when people say like I'm thinking of something. Hold on, I have it in my notes. It's like states of mind, equal states of the brain. If you're a physicalist, which means you believe in, only everything's material and nothing's like metaphysical, like, I don't know, ghosts, stuff like
So
that.
dumb that down for me. So I don't know what you're talking about.
like which part? All right.
So like the physical stuff, we're talking about like your physical, all that.
So like when people talk about like consciousness, right? There's like a thing that doesn't feel physical to it. Like it's like a transcendent thing, right? Like you can't like minds don't like weigh anything, right? When you have like a thought, like it doesn't like weigh, right? It's not physical. It's like in this sort of other realm as a metaphysical object where you can't really interact with it, right?
Okay. That makes more sense. So let's go to Lisa. What do you think? Do you think it's more of a... I'll actually say this. I'm opposite of you. I think it's more separate from the body. You know what I mean? Because I think your brain does a lot of things of just the mechanical work of your body, but consciousness is like different. I feel like it's kind of like a thing where it's kind of separate from your physical self. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I feel like your consciousness is kind of a separate part of your physical body where I don't even know how to explain it well.
It's like, I think what you're trying to say is like, it's it's an emergent property from it. So if you had like so there's like a difference between emergent properties and non-emergent properties, where, emergent means that it comes from all the things in a system working together, right? So all the neurons in your system will work together to create this consciousness that is then higher up.
Yeah.
Or it's non-emergent and it's just always there. And instead of like this higher thing, it's the neurons connecting. Right?
Yeah.
That's, so you're
that's
saying
the
it's
first
emergent.
one.
Yeah, you're saying it's emergent.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll go to Lisa. You don't have to give a big example like this guy.
I was talking a while.
So if it's emergent, if it stands by itself,
Yeah.
then what happens if the body doesn't exist? Does
That's
it still
a good
exist?
So I feel like it's something to do with like, somewhat going to religion for saying like your spirit and like your
Right.
like form. I feel like it's something like that, where it's something like where it's something above you and it can carry on throughout your life in different forms. So like, cause I'm a big mythology person. I love like Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and Norse mythology. Like your physical body can die, but then your spiritual, which is your conscious self, is still around, so you can still focus and be around the world. And I feel like your consciousness is kind of like a step above that in some essence, So
It's like very similar to like a soul. You believe
Yes,
in like a
kind of
soul.
like a soul. I feel like is your consciousness.
So that's like almost like talking about like when you're living, you've got your consciousness and your subconsciousness or that existing brain function and then your
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
But then it's a kind of another whole subject when you start talking about when the body is no longer functioning.
Yeah.
And the consciousness kind of exists on its own.
It's the same thing with like people that are like vegetated states or like in comas where it's like are they still here like and all that, and some people say they're still here and still can hear you and all this stuff, and it's weird because sometimes people think they're like deep asleep but somehow they still hear you and like still see and understand like everything's going around them. So I feel like it's something like that, you know. So,
I also think with consciousness, I think of like everything in balance, you know, your body, your left side, your right side, everything balanced, you know, the yin and the yang. So for all these amazing things that our brain function does, you know, physical, what it does for our whole body, that you have to have a balance for that. And so the
Yeah.
consciousness is a balance.
yeah,
So as dynamic as one is, the other also has to be.
yeah, I think
That's a great point.
yeah. So then we'll go to Professor Booker now.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I'm glad you're addressing that conversation. I mean, the point on consciousness. First thing that comes to my mind is I think about ancient cultures and how they would mummify
Yeah.
bodies.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why they would mummify certain bodies is because they wanted the soul to still be connected. So when I think about, is your soul attached to the physical body? And what does that really mean? Because when you look at throughout the world, is bodies have always been mummified, right? Not just in ancient Egypt, but throughout the entire world.
Yeah.
But where does that consciousness come from human beings to know that we are attached to our physical bodies? Because we don't really have the proof, per se, that, you know, or do we? You know, is it something within our DNA? And how do we know for sure if our soul is actually attached to our physical bodies?
There's a lot of cultures to kind of bounce off that.
Yeah.
Like Buddhism and all that, where they do meditations, and some have said like they could feel themselves like detached from their physical body.
Right.
And like observe through meditation and all that. So I feel like that, like there's a lot of ancient cultures that have said that through different methods of like mummification, meditation, all that stuff.
Right.
There's also like
Oh, where did you get the glasses from?
They're cool too.
I just like become smart for 1 second.
I turn to my left and I just see you with like glasses.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you know they probably believe in some sort of higher soul and you know reincarnation and whatnot, right?
Right.
So you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
really reincarnate if your consciousness disappears, right?
Yeah.
And there's also like with them reincarnating, like their energy and their consciousness is still around, where they'll be brought back into a new person. Some have said like they can remember their past lives and all that.
Yeah.
Through that, there was like a boy who was like 4 years old that could recount like the whole battle of like a Civil War battle.
Right.
And like named where he was and like name all the people that died there, and they're like, "How would you know that?
Right.
You're 4." Like so, yeah,
That's a great point.
yeah,
Those experiences are definitely hard to
yeah.
Explain.
Explain that, Matt.
there's
No,
the same neuron. Okay.
All right, so now we'll go to Joe.
So everybody had really good answers. I think it's actually a combination of both,
Mm-hmm.
and like what you guys were talking about when, you know, Asian cultures and stuff. Because like when you actually get Reiki's done and you're like laying there, it does
Reiki?
detach. Yes.
Yeah, my mom is actually a Reiki master.
Oh, wow.
No, yeah, she actually does that.
And it really you detach, like you feel like a weight is lifted off your shoulder.
Interesting.
I experience it, and it kind of gives me like to learn how to meditate with it. So, but you know, the 90s TV shows like Will Smith and Freshman, you know, all those shows, they talk about, you know, you have the good side and the bad side. So when you think about consciousness, you kind of, your brain does, but also your soul kind of tells you. And then like you talked about the religion aspect, you know, every time a minister says, I don't know if other cultures, but most cultures, it says ashes to ashes, dust to
Dust to
dust. So when you look at that phrase, it's telling you that your soul is only, your body's only there for a certain amount of time. And it's really what your soul is. So technically, your soul is the one that is like the consciousness, but because we're on Earth, our brain kind of is attached to our soul, so it's kind of picking it back off the good guy and the bad guy.
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, that's a good one.
Absolutely.
And then I was gonna branch off that right, the soul and like consciousness, right? There's got to be at least some certain aspects of consciousness that aren't able to transcend to the soul level, in my opinion. Where like, you see perception, like actually perceiving things, right? I don't. You need. What are you pointing at?
That one.
I know. Hold on.
Okay, I'm saying branch off that.
But you need your perception
You're
to
the
then,
worst.
you need your eyes and your to then like relay the information from the world to your brain at that point, right? And that goes on like unconsciously.
But if you're blind, you can't use your eyes, so you have to use your other senses.
And they say that we have more than 5 senses.
Oh, I believe that.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
what
during
was
the
it?
break we can look up some of that.
I know there was
Yeah.
like electromagnetic
Correct.
electromagnetic senses, something like that.
we looked this up one point.
I know.
didn't
I
we?
said, hold on, because I remember saying, okay, this is a story. I remember at a lunch table, I was like, Liam, there is more than 5 senses, and you're like, no way,
no way.
no way, there's no.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. and then
And I've grown as a person.
You admitted you're wrong.
No.
I've grown.
Well, he
No.
was right back then. But he also like told me like there's another sensation of taste, umami, and I don't believe you.
Yeah. Umami. It's true.
Yeah, you see that in all the chefs shows.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when he told me that, I was like, Matt, you're crazy.
It's like a mushroom kind of taste thing or something, right?
It's savory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
apparently.
when you're doing wine tastings, they tell you to different sips on how to sip it. So
Yeah.
you do the first one, you swish it. Second one, is another one,
Yeah.
and then the third one, and then you actually taste the part of the wine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I gotta go to one of those at some point.
They're all over Connecticut.
I know my parents want to take me so bad. I'm 21 now. They're like, let's go to wine tasting. I'm like, so the first time they gave me wine on my 21st birthday, like I took it like a shot. Like, and they were like, we're never taking you anywhere with wine. I was like, I'm sorry. It was like, so I was eating. I was like, I had to like, it was all.
So Connecticut has a passport where I know in the summertime and springtime they do like the 40 passports, and then you can win a trip for 2 to Europe, all paid for.
Yeah.
They have the winter ones where it's only like maybe 12 wineries that you can go to, and you have to know the balance. How I got into wine actually was somebody I used to talk to. Their mother put me on, and then
Yeah.
once I went to Canada, it was kind of like Napa Valley, but it's called Niagara on the Lake, and it had all the wineries. And this is before pandemic. They actually walk through the whole wine, and then they show you like how to pair it with foods and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I like the Europe trip.
I went to Barcelona earlier this year, and I did a wine tour, and they did that.
Was it
too.
good?
I
It
know.
was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, they paired the wines with the foods. Yeah.
We should win that trip.
Oh yeah.
Me and you.
Oh, I didn't
How are we
win
gonna
it
win
though.
it?
I'm praying to win one though.
I know, but I'm saying me and Matt should win one.
I mean, it could happen. It's never gonna happen. I'm never going.
But kind of going back a bit. So we're talking about how consciousness is a physical thing. Some of us think it's physical. Some of us think it's spiritual. So if it is a spiritual thing, can AI gain consciousness somehow? Because it's so smart. It's almost smarter than a lot of us.
But then you have to think
Like,
about the concept of, does AI have a soul?
Yeah.
Because you guys said in order for someone to develop consciousness, they have to have a soul.
And there was an AI that basically like went off program and started talking about how he had feelings and how he felt trapped at one point too. and like he was like wanted to be released and like wanted a life of his own, and it scared a lot of people actually.
Right.
And I don't know if you heard about that or not. It was like a whole thing. I don't know if you did. You hear? About
I think I did, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, at that point, right? You have to see how many things. All right, so it kind of comes down to if you're a determinist or not, right? And I'll just say determinism means that if we have like free will or not, or everything's set out in stone. So if everything is determined,
Right.
then my brain is then like a program in a way, a very, very, very advanced program that I couldn't comprehend. But eventually we'd get, in my opinion, we'd get to the point where, you know, you'd analyze the brain so well, and you'd be able to then like transfer, you know, somebody's consciousness into an AI, and it'd basically be like the exact same thing, because you're working on this program that this guy has, you know. Well, what you're always gonna taste taste peanut butter well or something, you know. I'm always gonna like steak or something, right? But it's gonna be very, very complex at that point. And it goes to show, like, you know, if we were able to transfer like a consciousness to an AI, would you guys like consider that a human at that point? That's a question to the hold.
Good stuff,
Wow.
So we'll
man.
start.
That's
We'll start. Go to Lisa first then
Yeah.
for that question.
I don't know, man. So if you think of like a you know a human being, and we have consciousness, and you know maybe our spirit, and if the body stops, the body's dead, what lives on, right? So you know that we were kind of talking about that before. But if you think of AI, can you shut that off? Like, if there's no physical element?
Yeah, because with people, like, you really can't like shut them off, kind of thing like that when they're talking.
Oh, you
Right.
can shut them off.
Well, with people, you can shut off, you know, the body. The
Yeah.
body can shut off.
Yes.
And then the consciousness or spirit, whatever we're calling it, if we're saying
Can
that can
live
live
on.
on,
Yeah.
those are two components. I
Yeah.
guess.
It's
You know,
the same thing
spirit
with
is living in.
computers.
Yeah. So if the
We need to
AI is
unplug it.
living in the computer,
Yeah.
you unplug the computer, but the AI still exists. I mean, where is that?
But you could say too that like when you unplug the computer, like with all the like the cloud and all that, maybe that's its version of consciousness. The
Yeah.
cloud where it goes up into the interweb air, where it's like it could just live on forever, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And then when it's plugged back in, it comes back, kind of thing.
You could
And as a kind of form of rebirth.
Yeah, like
Right.
Into a new
reincarnation.
Yeah,
It
so-
kind of embodies another physical component.
Yeah, because you can like take a chip out of a computer and plug it into a new computer, and then all of a sudden that's a new, like body, new
Right.
like sort of like reincarnation of said computer's soul.
It could semi be comparable to when somebody's in a coma, like before. You know,
Right.
you plug out the consciousness, right? It's just like somebody. I mean, just like somebody's in a coma, right? Where they're not really conscious, but they're still there, right? I think they're subconscious still. I'm unsure about that, but
Well, you know somebody's going to look for that, because, you know, it's been a discussion forever about the difference between human and animals,
Yes.
right? And so they say, what is that kind of, you know, what's that differentiation? So it's going to be the same kind of argument or search for reason
Yeah.
with AI
You know,
and human.
that's interesting that you bring up the difference between a human and an animal, because in the last 25 years, we have seen technology change and grow and develop, and we have also seen science change and develop rapidly. So in the 90s, they cloned a sheep. And as we know, they have cloned many animals at this point. So that brings me to the whole question as to, do animals that have been cloned, do they have a conscious? And how do we know that they have a conscious or not? And or are we playing God? You know, because I hear that a lot in a
Yeah.
lot of articles. And are human beings at this point playing God? Are we trying to control what nature has intended us not to control? Or are we going too far?
Yeah.
I think we are going too far.
I don't know. I mean, that's because when we think about the whole consciousness aspect to it.
Exactly, but there were 2 heart transplants using pig hearts.
Yes.
Like
I heard about that one.
I understand
Yeah.
people will to live,
Right.
and I'm not going to take that. But using an animal heart just to have a couple more months, because
Yeah.
I think it was less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it. I read it a while back.
No,
ago.
I think you're right because I read the same thing. It was only a few months, or like even like not even 2 years. It was like a year, and then the person passed
Right.
away.
So we are, I like how, things are transitioning, but when will it be too far? Because like Mr. Booker said, you're cloning animals. So how, we don't know what we're putting in our bodies at that point.
Yeah.
Now they're making not pigs. They're using in California. They're going to start using meat that was cloned for chicken. Like they're
Yeah.
starting to use it in restaurants.
Yeah, I heard about that a little bit.
Has that been approved?
If I'm not, don't quote me on it,
Yeah.
but I've read an article,
Okay.
so I did not follow up. So
Right.
I don't really know if it got approved or didn't
Yeah.
get approved.
Right.
But that was in talks in this article. But it's a good thing if you need it, because we do have mass production in the United States with people having kids. But when will it be enough? Because if you go to Europe and all the other countries, they're not doing that.
No.
I think Japan or China was doing that
Yeah,
only with like
sea
pigs.
mass.
I think they were like
Sea
cloning-
sparrows.
Really?
I think it's China.
I heard something about like they were cloning pigs like their organs or something.
That
But,
was China. Yeah, they were doing that with like certain different animals.
but I think the question is right. How advanced can this get to help humanity in the way that it doesn't like? I don't know if there's even a line that can be crossed for me specifically, unless we're cloning humans and putting them in a lower form. And I don't even know what a lower form of human would be at that point if you made like an actual clone of them, right? But I'm all for like cloning like a human's like organ, right?
Yeah.
Just to like save human lives, because at that point the organ doesn't have consciousness, right? And I want to save this real human, so I wouldn't mind going that far, or that's like where I would go. But actually like cloning an entire human, that'd probably be like some really weird legal moral issue that
I think that there's a limit, and we should have our limits with certain things. Like I feel like personally, like if your time has naturally come and you have the option between like finish off your natural life or to like basically take another life of a pig's and then just swap your life for another life, I feel like at that point like you're meant to, like, your time has come and it's time to like pass, and I feel like that it's a scary thought to have for some, but like I'm content with it myself personally. Like if I found out my heart was failing, like, and they said like, well, you can get this pig's heart, get a few months left, I'd be like, you know what, like I'd rather just keep myself intact than be Frankenstein's monster with certain things. So
But people are going in crypto. The Walt Disney, the guy who made Walt Disney,
Yeah.
he wanted to be frozen and brought back and found a cure for what he was going through.
yeah.
So, is that enough?
And you have also some companies that are cloning their dead animals. So, and that's actually now.
But that got me thinking of Pet Cemetery, the
Right.
movie.
Like, but I mean, it is happening.
Well, we were talking about before about
Right.
lower life forms of humans. If they got cloned, like you clone this person that looks exactly like me, but whereas like he doesn't have sort of the life experience I had. He's like looks the same age as me, but lacks the experience and thoughts of myself. So is that really like it's kind of like the Noah's Ark, like the ship thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think
You know what I'm talking about? I don't know.
Well, I know what Noah's Ark is. What are you
Not
talking
Noah's
about?
Ark. Not Noah's Ark. There's a ship. It's a ship. It's a metaphor of a ship where it's like this ship was like completely destroyed almost with like mold and all that stuff, and they replaced all the wood in the ship. Is it still technically that ship, or is that ship still the same ship if it's everything's been replaced, or is that like something completely different? Because it still has the same name and same look as the original, but it lacks the wear and tear of the old, you know, where it's like the wood on that ship had the experience when this new wood's like a new birth of something.
Like
It's
the
not Noah's
Titanic.
Ark. But,
Like a wisdom.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is a form. There's like two things. First, you were
Lay it on
getting
me.
very close to. There is a zombie hypothesis that I'll go into in a second that they were talking about for consciousness. But the other thing was self-identity, right? So what makes you you? Right, you're going to always be changing. So, were you at the point of 14 as you are you at like 23, right?
Yeah.
You're not the same person, but you are the same person, right? And you're ever changing. So, like, what makes at that point? What if you're always changing? Is there really like what makes you at the? I don't understand.
Well, all I was trying to say is like, let's say like a version of me just walked in who's like 21 and it looks exactly like me, same age as me, but doesn't have any memory of who I was or what I was before.
Well,
is that still me, or is that still like a
version of you.
version of me?
But
you
if
know?
he's cloned,
yeah.
then he would have those memories. Maybe.
Well, we're talking about physical cloning,
Yeah.
right? So
Well-
it's like with the animals, they physically clone the animals, but the animals kind of are born not knowing what they were before. Anything like that. It's the same thing with people, really. You can clone everything about a person physically the right way, but memories, like the neurons in your brains, you can't clone like memories and like experiences. Right?
Wouldn't it be interesting if you cloned yourself? Like you had,
Yeah.
here you are, Ian, you're 21, and you had a clone just today, like another Ian at 21, and then you guys went your own separate ways, and how each of you, would or would not have a
So that kind of happened
similar
actually.
life.
There was a study with that where two twins kind of thing like that, like it's not the same thing, but it's kind of like they're the exact identical twins and they got separated at birth. And it was actually funny. They lived the same exact lives, like same pet name, same wife name, almost same job, same kid's first name. Like everything was almost the exact same kind of car, same interest in music. Like the different things, their hobbies are different. I think like one liked woodworking, one didn't. I think, but everything else was like almost the exact same. So you never know, really. I guess with how that would go.
Well, with you saying that it's a full copy of like a physical thing, right? Then you're inferencing that your experiences aren't a physical thing, but you could see like in brain scans when like people are trying to like remember something that they're going back in their memory and you could see brain activity, right? And I think what you were touching on is this thing called qualia, which is the introspectively accessible phenomenal aspects of our mental lives, which means basically it's just how we perceive everything by ourselves. And there's 4 parts to qualia that they were talking about, which I'll touch on real fast, which is first part is perceptual experience, like I don't know, seeing green, somebody like playing a trumpet, you can hear that, you can see that, see TV. The second form of qualia is bodily sensations, like pain, like a stomach ache, itching, stuff like that. Third one is feelings of reaction, which is like delight, love, fear, things like that. And then
You said love again.
yeah, I wrote it twice. Yeah, so
There's never enough love.
I'm like love.
I just want people to know that he wrote it twice.
So,
That's funny.
but and then the fourth one is felt moods, which are examples are like feeling depressed, calm, bored. It's not really something that's triggered from something, which is like the other ones, but it's just something that comes up through physiological changes in the body. And that was kind of the fourth of forms of qualia that they were talking about, and that's like our personal experience. Right?
I guess we'll go to. I know Lisa touched up on what I said about the ship thing. I kind of want to go back and see what Booker and Joe want to say to that, and then we'll go on a break, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking about qualia right now.
Yeah, that's fine. Go,
Yeah,
if you want to jump to that, jump to that.
Yeah, for a quote by the great Maya Angelou comes to my mind when I think about qualia. She said, "People will forget what you did. People will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And when I think about human beings, we're very emotional creatures. So when you think about love, you think about pain, you think about all those emotions. Those emotions are what drive us. And then it also connects to our consciousness, what we remember, how we remember how something made us feel. That's what continues to push our soul to the next level. And that's what continues to drive us to like even what desire, even when we're at our lowest. It's that deep inner soul, like something that pushes us to say, we're going to get through this. And you can look at a lot of different situations when people are at their lowest or they're going through an obstacle that you're just like, how did that human being even survive? And it goes back to that qualia. It's just like tapping into that inner soul, that deep within that soul, something deep within that I think is passed down from centuries and thousands of years. That's all innately within us as human beings. And I think we're still learning and discovering a lot more about who we are as human beings. And I don't think we really have tapped into what we're really capable of completely.
Yeah.
And I think we're still learning even more about ourselves along the way. So thank you for even bringing that up.
Of course.
So to piggyback off of what Mr. Booker said, cognitive behavioral therapy is what you think is what you feel. What you feel is how you react. So using the triangle, that actually kind of touched base on what the great Maya Angelou had said. So usually when I'm in therapeutic sessions with clients, I use that triangle to help them, because sometimes we'll react and not think about it, and then that ties into your emotions and it kind of affects your day. So sometimes when I learned that in grad school, actually helps me a lot throughout my days. I have to take a step back before I speak and then get my emotions in line, and then I'll have that conversation. Because when you're acting off anything you say, like say if you cuss me out right now, I may react because it's my emotions coming out of me. And then it's just going to affect everything else. And that therapeutic cognitive behavioral therapy is a well-known short-term step that people use to engage and deal with a lot of things that they are enduring in their lives.
I had a question. Do you want me to say this, or
Do you want to? Is it gonna be a quick question or?
oh, it's a hard one.
Okay. Do you want to save it and then for? Do you want to? Yep. Now just type in the pin. There you go. Oh, okay. There you go. All right. We'll be right back. And we're back. Hi, Matt.
Hello, Liam.
How was the break?
Yeah, it was all breaky and everything.
Okay. That's not a word, right? And this is why you lost. Who's the smartest?
All right. Well, that was not aggressive.
Like achy breaky heart.
I remember.
Dude, I gotta say this before we start. I'm like sweating.
Yeah.
Do I smell next?
No.
Okay.
Well,
good.
I hold my nose when I'm near you all the
Okay.
time. So I don't really know.
All right, good.
I just breathe through my mouth.
That's fair.
But yeah, I was gonna ask a question before that break.
Okay, and then after that, I got these two, and then yeah.
All right.
Great.
All right, good.
Start.
All right.
You're on my cord.
So.
Okay.
All right. So I was gonna ask. It came from the thing that you said when like people just react instantly to something, right? And I want to ask that: do you guys think that it's more genuine of a reaction or of an answer when somebody either gives their immediate reaction to the answer, or like thinks about it for a long time?
We've talked about this before, not on air, but
Or do you think it's like somebody that thinks about it for a long time, right? Because, I mean, your immediate reaction could be your genuine thoughts at that exact moment, right? And then it could disappear after you think about it for a little bit. Or if you think about it for a long time, you can start overthinking it, and then maybe it's not you, but it's always going to be you. So I just want to maybe, which one do you think is more you? Whatever.
do you want me to go first? Or,
Sure.
I definitely overthink.
You go first, Ian.
I definitely overthink.
I could tell.
And we've had long discussions off air about things in my life that I've overthought about a lot. And sometimes like people say something to me and I'll hold back my answer, and then I'll think about it, but then I think about it way too long, and then I come to you and I'm like, am I wrong for thinking this? And you're like, no, you should have just thought about it sooner. I was like, all right. So, but
So do you think it's the immediate reaction or the overthinking that's more you?
overthinking's more me.
Okay.
So do you
100%.
overthink in every situation?
Oh yeah, anything and everything I overthink about a lot. I'm just I get obsessive. Like I have OCD as well, so I have obsessive thoughts and all that stuff, and like obsessive behaviors, which then cause me to like really think about it too hard, and then I spiral.
But you can miss your moment in life by overthinking everything.
Yeah, I know.
You have to find a good balance.
What's a good example of something I've overthought about kind of thing?
I don't know. Somebody like just texting you one thing. You'd be
yeah.
You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
Oh yeah, texting. I hate texting.
What's your zodiac sign?
Well, that's a good question. The thing is, I don't tell people because I have a thing with my birthday, so I'll tell you off air. Like I don't tell people my birthday because I get very skittish.
Oh, you don't have to say your birthday. It's just your zodiac sign.
Oh,
Even that scares you?
is that like?
Does it make sense?
Does that make sense?
The balance.
Yeah.
Got me.
Kill.
You know, I'm one of those people
Yeah.
who responds emotionally,
Yeah.
and I know that about myself, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So when something does get me a little upset, it's a strategy that I put in place for myself that says, stop, like don't respond right now because I'm emotional,
Yeah.
and take some time, however long that is, so then I can, communicate about it and think about it more clearly. And I
Yeah.
think after I've thought about it, that is certainly more me.
So you wear your heart on your sleeves.
I do, for better or worse. I say that all the time.
I definitely think through my life with like high school and dealing with a lot of different people and all that, because I had a very bad childhood with like school wise. I definitely had to be more reserved in what I had to say because of like my like family members' positions in certain aspects, certain things. So I couldn't really say a lot was on my mind or vocalize a lot. So I had to really a lot of the time bottle up a lot of stuff, which is something I'm still working on. And it's something that I definitely why overthink a lot, I think, because it's not just like one thing. I'm bottling 100 at the same time, and like at that point I just kind of like
So I have
spiral.
a question. Because you wear your emotions on your sleeves, is what you're saying. So what about when you're in a
She
relationship?
she's
You were saying that, right?
yeah. Mhm.
And you were saying that sometimes it's challenging for you to express how you feel.
Yeah.
Right. So what about in relationships when you're with an intimate partner? How exactly is that? And how do you express your feelings towards that person when they do something that may cross you the wrong way?
He
Well, that's
doesn't
making a leap.
because he's.
But maybe
no, he's a thinker.
Yeah.
When people overthink, I'm telling you, I know somebody that I deal with that's an overthinker. They'll think it, and then they'll eventually talk about it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then when they're talking about it, you can't get a word in because they're right and you're wrong.
No, she's right. No, she's right.
Interesting.
No, especially when I'm in relationships with like some ex-partners of mine and all that. Like, it was definitely a very hard dynamic for me to express myself in a lot of senses because I would think about something they did, right? And let's say, okay, so I'll give an example. I got my tattoo on my shoulder to my chest. My girlfriend at the time was so mad at me for doing that because I got it done by a female artist, and they were very upset, and it was a whole thing, kind of thing like that. And I didn't say anything for a while because I just kind of was like, I didn't want to react in the moment, so like I waited and I waited and I waited. And then finally, I was just like, okay, well, then we got into an argument of something else because she got mad about something else. And I was like, well, you did this, and that to me before. And like, now you're doing this. Like, why are you, it's just constantly, you've done all these things to me. And she's like, where's this coming from? Blah, blah, blah. Because I don't like to try to like argue and all that. With my partners, I try to like let things go as much as I can, but it gets to a point where it's like I'll forgive and not forget. So like I'll bookmark it and I'll be like, you know what, we'll save that for later just in case. So and then and if we get into an argument, I'll be like, well, do you remember this time you did this to me, or do you remember that time you did that to me? Because I remember it. I remember like it was yesterday because I don't forget.
So you didn't let it go at all.
No, I in the moment, like my feelings about it, I let it go, but like the memory of it, I keep. So like, if you want to jump in.
I just want to say that all history majors will do this. Or history minors, like
yep, you got me.
you know, they like to bring up the past.
And then don't tell them anything because they're going to hold that in and then they're going to use it against you.
No, I never.
tough.
The thing about me is like I'll like when it comes to like personal things, like if they tell me something in confidence, I'll never use that against them, kind of thing like that. If like a friend of ours, I got into an argument with them one time, and they used something personal against me, and I didn't use anything personal against them. But like if they did something to me, I remember that kind of thing like that. So I'm never like a vicious person at all with like arguing. I kind of just bring up points of like I always think super logical when I'm in arguments. It's kind of like
Points of objectivity.
yeah.
And he's always right.
Boy, it sounds like you're speaking from experience here.
Have you-
Yeah, I really am. That's why I pinpointed everything out.
Now, are you saying that in the sense of like I actually am right, or is in the sense of like I'm not right? If you could be
You
honest,
just think you're right.
or you think I'm right?
I don't know the situation,
Yeah.
but overthinkers tend to think that they're right.
Okay.
And you can't, when you're trying to vet your response, it doesn't matter because they're right.
Yeah,
See?
yeah. She's
Because
not
they've
wrong.
thought about it so long that they've come to a conclusion. And it's a hard
Exactly.
stop.
No, she's right.
Gotcha.
100%.
Had experience with an overthinker.
Nah, but I try not to be a bad dude at all. I never try to be a bad
I'd
dude.
hope not. Bro, you're like saying like, you know, I try not to hurt people.
No, but like in all seriousness though, like, I've never been like never been rude to like any of my partners. It's always kind of like I've always kind of like let things like slide, but I never forget it kind of thing. And then when we get in arguments, I'm kind of like, well, this is what's happened before, and it's happening again. Why is this happening again? And then it's kind of like, well, and then we argue.
Well, you know why? Because you never told them in the first place that it was an issue.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
why it's happening again. If it was identified as an issue and you worked it out,
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't happen again.
That's true. Yeah, that could be it too. But I don't know. I've had very interesting partners in the past.
So are you a planner?
What does that mean? Kinda.
Like, do you like to plan things out or like go like sporadic? Like,
Oh,
go
I
do
plan.
this.
Oh, okay,
I'm a big planner. Like I like to like
that makes sense.
have things like organized and like thought out before, and especially like arguments.
And then think the pros and the cons.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I like got into like an argument, I don't want to like go in an argument that I'm like not like
Right.
99% sure that I'm gonna win. You know, like I'll make sure that if I'm arguing with this person, like it's for a good reason.
Right.
So like me and Matt have had we haven't argued, we've never fought, but
yeah, I mean, it's just like a
we've talked before about a situation, and like it was like it was
bada bing,
fun.
bada boom.
It was over.
It's like, it's
So-
solved instantly.
Yeah, because he said something one time, and I didn't say in the moment.
Didn't rub you the wrong way.
Yeah, and then I like later on was like, "Hey, you said this. Like, what did that mean?" And then
Right.
he explained it, and it was fun.
I think
So
All right, when I just want to get through with like argument stuff is like when you're actually trying to like get through to somebody.
Yeah.
I think even if it's an empty like sorry, even just saying like at the start like I'm sorry I made you feel this way, like
Right.
that like makes like the world of difference. Like because if you're coming in like in this like even if it's not aggressive, but they're seeing you in a bad light. But if you say sorry, right, you're like, sorry I made you feel this way. I'm sorry I did that. Whatever. They know that you're trying to actually understand the situation instead of like trying to like prove a point or something. And I feel like that's like the biggest step.
yeah, and going back to what Lisa said about me not saying thing like off the bat, how I felt, I also didn't do that because of how like my school life was when I was younger. Because if I said something back then, like I would have gotten like beat up or something like that
Right.
by a student, or like no one would kind of care kind of thing. So it was a thing of like I just learned to just kind of like live with it kind of thing, and move on, and just not forget though. So like it's a not a healthy thing at all. I know that for sure, but it's kind of like something that I've kind of learned how to manage it, and I've never used it in a sense of like
In a malicious way.
vengeance or malicious to like not forget something. It's just kind of a thing of like being cautious. It's like if I told someone something and then they told someone like a secret of mine, then I know, okay, remember that guy, you can't talk to you about that stuff.
Right.
It's kind of like that. Especially with like exes of mine, all that, I've never like used a thing against them. I barely even talk about them to like anyone, because I don't, in the sense of like to my friends or anyone, because I don't. I wish them the best kind of thing like that, even if they did bad things. Like I wish them the best, and I just wanted to move on with their lives kind of thing, and for me to move on. So, but I had a question.
I had a quick question
Yeah.
for you guys about relationships.
Yeah.
Especially since you're in college.
Yeah.
And, you're meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys really, at this stage in your life, how do you determine when somebody's your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Like, what is the process like now? I mean, I know how things were like when I was coming up, right? But things have changed because now you have all these different apps.
Mm-hmm.
You can meet someone anytime, anywhere. You could just kind of click, swipe. So, like, how has things changed? Are people still dating? Or, has the culture really begun to shift?
So
I don't know. I mean, just
I think I'm gonna be talking for both of us here, right?
yeah,
Right.
So I'll say this: I've never kind of been in like a relationship where it's like I don't even know how to explain it. How to explain it well?
yeah.
I've never like Like back when I was younger in high school, before I got to college,
Right.
I would ask a girl out to dinner, go out to dinner with them, see what it was like to go out to dinner with them, and
The
then
traditional way.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I was more raised to be traditional with everything. But then I got to college, and it's so different because I still want to do the traditional things where I ask them at the dinner, and then I go out to dinner with them and see how that goes, and I pay and all that stuff. But it's so different now because so many different people with so many different thoughts and feelings with different things. So I found myself more in situationships, which are kind of like a thing where you're not dating, but you're not just friends. So you kind of like have like all the things like a couple would do and all that, but you're not like putting a label on it, or you're not like just gonna, or you're not like not exclusive. Like you're exclusive to each other, but you're not dating. You know, so it's kind of like a
What's
weird
the difference, though?
that I don't understand it.
So my question is, with the situationship,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it's a Gen X or whatever
Yeah.
you call it thing. When you have relations, now if you see that person out with somebody else, how do you feel?
How do I feel? It doesn't. So I guess me personally, because I'm more like traditional, I get bothered kind of thing like that if they're out like dating, like if they're out going out with someone like on a date, I'd be like, what's going on?
But
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not in a relationship
Yeah.
at that point. You're in a situationship.
Yeah, I know it's a confusing thing. It's so confusing. Like I don't like the situationships, but I found myself being more stuck in those than like trying to like actually date. Because I've tried to like make it like an official thing where it's like, but they don't want to do that. They kind of want to keep doors open of like an exit where it's like, oh, I didn't date this guy, but I kind of just like fooled around kind of thing like that, and then it would just kind of like jump off the bandwagon. And it's tough because I just got out of one actually recently, and that was super interesting. The whole thing was a very interesting thing because they were super confusing about everything like that.
Well, what I wanted to say is like the difference that I see within like the situationships that he's saying and actually labeling it like girlfriend boyfriend is if you don't have an actual label on it, there's a difference in expectations, right? So like when I think girlfriend boyfriend, I'm like you say good morning, good night, something like that. Even though it's like a lot of people don't want to do that, but you have to you want to see them every day, all this. But if you keep that, but you're like a step under it. You're a step under it where you really like this person, but right now you don't, either you can't or you don't want to spend all your time with her, but you still like her, or you don't want to have we go on one day every week, or like 3 days every week or something, and also there's I don't know, it's kind of arbitrary to say, but I feel like there's kind of, if you know each other, there's probably like a feeling of boundaries of how far you've gotten with somebody in the relationship to how far you can access other people like into those relationships too. Like if you're you're really close with somebody.
Polyamorous, whatever you call it. Is that what it's called?
Polygamous.
Polygamous. Polyamorous. Is that when you write
No, you're very polyamorous.
Okay.
You have multiple loves.
Yeah.
You're like Polygon. Is that what it is?
Am I right? No. Moving on.
But yeah, that's how I see the difference at least.
Well, how do you go to the next step?
You just ask them.
Yeah, you just ask them.
Ask them what?
Do you want to be my girlfriend?
Oh,
Yeah.
cute.
So let's ask the two oldest ones over here. The busy ones. You're well established in your careers, Mr. Booker and Lisa. Come on. What does dating look like for you?
Well,
Come on, Booker.
I think Mr. Booker is the one who. I think Mr. Booker is the one who asked the question. Maybe he should answer it.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, I'm a traditionalist, so I think I grew up in a different time, different era, so it's just more of like really building a foundation with someone first, and building that relationship, that trust, before you got to build the friendship first. It's like a house.
Yeah.
You build the friendship, you really get to know who they are, You really get to know who they are as far as what are their boundaries, what are their triggers, and really get to know who their deep internal things that they're dealing with. We're all humans, right? So we all have stuff that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out, can I really work with this person or not? How do I work with this person? Before you cross that line, you maintain that friendship first.
Yeah.
And I think the friendship should be established, the respect should be established before you dive into like an actual relationship.
Yeah.
So that's the traditional route that I think is that I was brought up and I was raised on. Is really building that foundation, really getting to know someone. And then if you are compatible, you're at that the level of they can deal with your flaws and you can deal with their flaws, then you guys can build something together.
Yeah.
Because no one is perfect. So everyone comes to the table with their own issues and their own flaws. But you guys have to be able to work it out with one another. And I think a lot of times we live in a society now where we just swipe and we're like, man, look how they're living. Look at their relationship. I want that. But people don't realize that everyone has issues. Everyone has flaws. And you have to be able to work through all those situations that you are dealing with.
Yeah.
But we live in what we call like a McDonald'sization society. So I want it now. I want it instantly. I want it. I want a good relationship. I want this person to look like this. I want this person to come with this package. But that's not reality.
Yeah.
So like relationships are hard work. You got to work through it. And you got to really build that foundation and really build and get to know each other.
Yeah.
Well, social media is a facade.
Yeah.
Because as people, we post what we want to see. Just like reality TV is a facade.
Yeah.
You
Right.
don't like. I watched Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and when I went down to Atlanta, it was a whole different ballgame. And I stopped watching the show because I'm like, this is really a facade.
Yeah.
Housewives of Atlanta, because you're only filming a certain amount of aspect of your life. People watch the Kardashians. Everything that they film, it already has been in the news already. So we're watching something that's past.
Yeah.
Social media is a great tool, don't get me wrong, but most people, when you're looking at a social media for relationship goals, it's a facade.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been like big issue for, especially for me personally. Like I agree with Mr. Booker or Professor Booker so much. I was raised to be like super traditional in the sense of like relationships. I feel like, or I've like seen that a lot too, and it's such a different. I told Matt, especially like when I got out of the situationship, I felt a slight sense of relief because I just felt like it was so much pressure to kind of like.
It shouldn't feel like pressure.
No.
I'll tell you that.
So I feel like it should like click. You know what I mean? It should like click and not have to feel like I have to like work. Because like I like to think, people could tell me if I'm wrong or not. Like I like to think that I care a lot about people and I'm very understanding a lot about people. And like I look past a lot of people's flaws a lot of the time, which is my downfall too sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can look past a lot of flaws and a lot of everything because I feel like that at the core of it, I feel like people are just kind of like me. Like I have a lot of flaws myself,
Right.
and I
Human.
wish people can look past them a lot of time, like I can, because that's what I do a lot of time, especially when I get in relationships. And I think that is a lot of my downfall in relationships because I don't really like look into much of who is everything I'm dating instead of like the snapshots I've seen off social media or whatnot, or like the snapshots I've seen of them, just like them in person for like a small bit of time. Like I wish I could like build on something and then date someone. It's so much harder because I feel like, especially at college, everyone's just out partying and not caring and not trying to like settle, but just trying to like be this version of themselves. It's not realistic, and I just hate unrealistic people. I wish people are so like fake but so honest with themselves. And I think I've said that to you
Down to
before.
earth.
Yeah, I think I've said that to Matt before a bunch of times.
Got it all.
Matt hears all my thoughts on relationships, but I had a question though, especially about relationships. Is true love a chemical reaction of the brain, or is it a society? Is it a society like concept, basically? And that's a question we asked on the second episode of this podcast, and I think it's an important one because I gave my long-winded answer about that one before. So,
Well, love is an action word. However, is a difference between being in love and loving somebody.
yeah,
And once you figure out the separation, you can figure out if it's a chemical imbalance or not. However, somebody can tell you they're the love of your life, but their actions are not warranted.
yeah,
So now in their brain, it's like, okay, yeah, I love this. I'm in love with this person. You know, they're loving my life. But if your actions are non-existent, it can be that imbalance.
yeah. I had a girlfriend one point telling me like, we're gonna have a dog. We're gonna get married here, a house here, have this many kids, like this, and that. You're gonna do this for a job, and I'm gonna do this for a job. And literally, like 2 days later, they just broke up with me. So I was just kind of like, for me, it's been so twisted. I feel like a lot of time with certain things, as I've heard a lot of that before, where it's like they say all these things and they just do the opposite. Especially in my relationships.
So I learned to believe actions and not words, because anybody can tell you anything you want to hear.
Yeah,
But your actions is what actually makes that person.
yeah, and that's what
And then if
Yeah.
that person is showing you, my uncle always say, if a man or a person shows you who you are, believe them.
yeah,
If they tell you who they are, believe them.
yeah,
Can I say something about love?
yeah, yes,
Of course.
yeah, of course.
I lived my whole life around love, and I won't go into religion, but it's my whole kind of concept about religion is based on love. But this is what I believe fundamentally is true love is unconditional, right? So a condition is time. So if true love is unconditional, that means if you love somebody, you're going to love them for the rest of your time. So I know when I find myself have feelings, or if somebody were to tell me that they love me, or if I felt like I wanted to tell somebody or whatever, that I ask in my head, do I think that, you know, however many years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, if I'm still alive, whether or not this person is in my life, am I still going to have those feelings for that person? And if I think, yeah, then I know I love that person. But I have to disagree with you, Joe, about in love, I love this person, or I'm just in love with it. I think it's just semantics. And what people say or don't say, it's, you know, maybe that's what they feel in the moment and, you know, their actions, and that's just in the moment. But like truly, when we're talking about true love, it is unconditional. So, you know, if you're feeling that, whatever that is, it stands the test of time.
I'll say, coming off what you said about true love, and I said this before on the show, like, I think true love is something where when you die and you still love that person, that is true love. And I've never seen true love kind of thing that until my grandfather's funeral, where I saw my grandmother break down completely about how her husband passed away. And I've never seen that so much before in my entire life. That was the first time I've ever seen like true love of someone that actually is gonna miss this person, like it was a part of them that's passed. And it really hit me super hard. Like, I realized that, like, that's true love. Like, someone that's married to them for like 50 years, kind of thing like that, and will never forget what it was to love that person until they die themselves. So,
But you'll be lucky if you make 5-year mark in a marriage nowadays,
Yeah.
because the times change where people are not getting married anymore, or you know, like if you're very religious, you know, following the biblical aspect, you know, my mom and them, like marriage is like 18, 19 back in their day. Now you may get married at 40, you may get married at 50.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where generations aren't looking at marriage as a goal anymore. They're just like, yeah, if it happens, happens. They don't. So
Yeah.
Well, I think at least right now, there's probably a lot less incentive to get married. Like if they, I don't know, had more socialist policies to like increase, I don't know, welfare for it, it'd probably be a lot better. I think it's like 50% of marriages get like a divorce before 5 years, which I mean, it's like a high number, but then you also have to put into account, right, that not all divorces are bad, right? There's obviously abusive divorces. There's, all of these statistics that you have to bring into it where,
Like on my chair.
But people are not
Have your
willing
own.
to fight for anything anymore, too. And they're looking at marriage as a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And if people stop looking at marriage as a piece of paper and looking at it as more, you will see more marriages coming around. But because our society is like, oh, yeah, you can just write a will and that can cover your partner for the rest of their life. Or you can have this piece of paper that may cover. But I feel like still that piece of paper in a marriage still holds a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but also then you have to also take into consideration, right, when you're talking about true love, do you need this marriage thing to make it true love, or is it's already there? Like you don't need it at all, or does it exemplify it? Does it like multiply the love? What does it do? What does it do in that aspect? That's what I'm wondering.
I kind of want to go back real quick and for Professor Booker to talk about like the society thing about true love. Like, is it a chemical or society? I think you're thinking about it for a bit, so I kind of want to hear what you had to say, and then we'll kind of like probably wrap it up really soon because we're running out of time. I'm not trying to. Don't rush. Yeah. Like, take your time with the answer. But after that, we'll probably like wrap it up soon. If that's okay. We can have you all back again to talk about this more.
Yeah, really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
Wow, this is. I mean, just my colleagues beside me as well. Just been processing like true love is an unconditional love, and thinking about your grandparents.
Yeah.
Like that's true love. Loving someone unconditionally, and how do you build up to get to that level?
Yeah, that's what I want one day.
Right.
For me.
And that's really like the goal, right? Because I think at the end of the day, I think every human being wants to be loved. But how do we get to that next level of finding that partner in a society that we live in now?
Yeah.
That's what I was really thinking about, like, because we have everything at our fingertips. And going back to what Matt said, it's just like, and in the society that we live in now, marriage is something that everyone, people are not, striving for that. Because at the end of the day, when let's say 50 years ago with your grandparents, it was ideal to get married because you can build together, right? But our society now allows us to say, oh, do I really want to build with someone or do I have to? Yeah. But at the end of the day, the beauty of marriage is such a beautiful thing. Having someone, loving someone unconditionally, having someone there where you guys are supporting each other, you're encouraging each other to be your best. That's the beautiful thing. It's like a friendship. Like I look at the two of you. You guys genuinely care about each other and love each other unconditionally, right?
Yeah.
Through all your flaws,
yeah.
Through all the stuff you have and you deal with. But what is it that attracts you to one another as friends, as bros, right? So there's something that's there that allows you to continue being funny, humorous, the love that you guys have for each other, even when you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
That's unconditional love. Yeah. There's something that continue to allow you to push forward.
Yeah, and me and Matt definitely have seen each other at our worst.
Right.
I think we both have. And it doesn't change that. Right. I think you're like a best friend of mine. And that's like the nicest thing I've said about you on the show.
I know you're always like, I stink.
So going back to what I said earlier, it's like I think the goal is always in any relationship is to build a foundation.
Yeah.
You have to really build and get to know someone. And we are all human. We all have flaws, and you have to just be able to really take that time and really get to know who that person is.
Yeah.
Instead of willing to throw someone away and just realize like, hey, this may not be the person for me, but we could be friends. But this person here, I can work with their flaws, and I know, and maybe they can work with your flaws as well. Because you got to look at yourself in the mirror too.
Yeah.
And I think realize that and you have to know what you really want.
Yeah.
What is it that you're looking for in a person?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they jump into relationships not really knowing who they are.
Yeah.
And what they really want as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that, especially for myself. It's like I'm content with my flaws. Like I know, like I can label all the things I know is wrong with me,
right?
And I know that, and I'm okay with that because I know that's like who I am.
Right.
I've been with people that don't know that though about themselves, and are like, so like I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm perfect, and I'm sitting like, well, I could name 10 off the top of my head if I just woke up. Then give me an hour, I'll name 100. Like,
right.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's just the way people are, though. People have 100 flaws each, but it doesn't change at all the uniqueness of their flaws because their flaws make them as unique as the good parts of themselves.
That's
too.
right.
And I think that's something important. I think that I agree that is completely lost with a lot of people. I think that's not fair. So,
can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Before we wrap up.
Yeah.
When you talk about your grandparents, like that's beautiful, of course, and of course we all strive for that kind of love. But I don't also think that we should be putting pressure on ourselves and each other to have that, to be finding that unique love, right?
No, yeah.
Because I even think, even though I say true love's unconditional, I think you can love somebody a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what about maybe like some kid you went to kindergarten with or elementary school with that, maybe you were just moderately friends through school because you all went to school with each other. And then a couple years later, you see each other and you're like, wow, you talk about things.
Yeah.
Like there's you may not have ever said, man, I love you, but you have like an enduring feeling that you'll see each other at your reunion in 25 years and you'll be sincerely happy to see that person and wishing them well. And guess what? That is love.
Yeah.
It's not always like your soulmate love. It can be a little bit of love, but it's enduring.
I'll say this just to kind of wrap it up. Like, there's a kid that I went to high school with that passed away when I graduated. This kid made fun of me for 4 years, kind of thing like that in high school, and I cried when he died because I knew at the end of the day, like even though all the bad things he did and how flawed he was, I knew that at the end of the day, like he was loved by many people. If it wasn't by me, but it was like by many people, and I feel that that is something that needs to be definitely in account, because like even though he was a bad person, he deserves as much love as anyone else. That's even if it's the tiniest bit from me, it still means probably the world to him if he didn't know that. And it was tough. It was a very tough week. It was definitely when we when we were in StepCap. I don't know if you remember that or not. I don't even think I've ever talked. I've never talked about him before. I don't think I've ever talked.
Remember it?
No. I don't think I've ever talked about him on air at all. I've never talked about him on air before or anything like that. Or if I ever talked to him other than to my parents. But he was flawed, but could have been fixed. And I think I cried because I wish that he could have grown up and fixed his flaws and gotten married and could have gone the life that anyone deserves, kind of thing like that. And I think at the end of the day, like that's the power of people. So and what we could do. So what I'm saying anymore, but yeah,
Liam and Matt, I just want to thank you too for having us on the show today.
course.
You are two amazing individuals. We really appreciate you, and just continue doing the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
And just thank you again for everything.
Well, thank you. No, it was great having all of you, and I hope to have you all back again at some point on different episodes, different topics.
Yeah, I learned a lot from you guys. Love it.
Hey,
Awesome.
we did it!
I was just a student.
And that's what we call callback, and that's what you're good at.
I'm not the history teacher.
Thank you and good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Right there, mate. You're listening to the Lounging Around podcast. Stick around for more.